80% of humanity possesses a superpower. They are called quirks, and over the course of a few generations, they reorganized the global population into a society built entirely around genetic superhuman abilities. Izuku Midoriya is born into the 20% who have absolutely nothing. In a world where a power is the prerequisite for participation, he exists as a systemic anomaly, isolated, powerless, and effectively invisible. Series creator Kohei Horikoshi constructed this world using the familiar visual language and established tropes of classic American superhero comic books. But he merged those Western aesthetics with the emotional architecture, long-form pacing, and complex character relationships native to Japanese shonen manga. The core tension of the story is the severely flawed, impossible world Midoriya is desperately trying to join. This organizational chart shows how hero society operates. It's a highly regulated, bureaucratic industry, functioning like a corporate monopoly. But this global peace is a fragile performance, propped up by a single, supposedly invincible deterrent, a man named All Might. This invincible pillar is secretly dying from a devastating injury. Knowing his time is short, he passes his stockpiled ability, a transferable power called One for All, to Midoriya. Midoriya has walked directly into a trap, inheriting the crushing responsibility of maintaining a system that is already doomed to collapse. Midoriya's early education at UA High School demands a brutal physical toll. He wields a borrowed power his frame cannot handle, constantly fracturing his own body just to keep pace with his peers. While the students train, the series' antagonists begin to emerge. These villains are the marginalized cast-offs who failed to fit society's required heroic template. The primary threat, Tomoda Shigaraki, began as a child whose newly manifested, highly destructive quirk accidentally killed his family. He was left entirely alone, abandoned by a society that assumed a licensed hero would eventually show up to handle it. Other key figures represent similar systemic failures. Characters like Toga and Twice possess innate abilities that made them mentally or physically incompatible with strict civil regulations, pushing them to the fringes. Then there is Stain, a militant extremist whose viral ideology violently targets licensed heroes, exposing their fame-seeking behaviors and financial motivations. The resulting League of Villains is a symptom of a structurally broken ecosystem, the inevitable outcome of a society that sweeps its human anomalies under the rug. This tension violently erupts in the Camino Ward. To defeat the ancient antagonist known as All for One, All Might burns out the very last embers of his power in a public battle. Stripped of his strength, he points directly to the broadcast cameras and tells the world, "Now it's your turn." The psychological anchor of the globe is gone. Without that singular deterrent, the fragmented villains unify. The Paranormal Liberation War breaks out across the country, completely shattering public faith in the licensed hero system. Watching the world fracture, Midoriya attempts to take the entire burden onto his own shoulders. He leaves his friends behind, abandoning his humanity to roam the ruined country as an exhausted, solitary vigilante. He is repeating the exact mistake of the previous generation, trying to be a solitary, invincible pillar, holding up a collapsing roof entirely by himself. This self-destructive cycle only breaks when his classmates track him down. They surround the isolated Midoriya in the pouring rain, forcing a massive emotional and physical intervention. The climax of this moment comes from Bakugo, his childhood tormentor, who delivers a sincere apology. This acknowledgement completely shatters Midoriya's martyr complex. By refusing to let Midoriya fight alone, Class 1A creates the prototype for a new architectural thesis. The burden of peace moves from a single failing pillar to a decentralized, interconnected network of heroes, each carrying a manageable portion of the weight. This shift allows the heroes to survive the final war. They entirely reject the old framework, opting to fight as a coordinated, unified front, where no single individual is required to be invincible. During the climax of the final battle, Midoriya makes a startling choice. He bypasses the physical fight entirely, opting instead to directly address the traumatized boy trapped deep inside the ultimate villain. He intentionally sacrifices One for All, transferring his stockpiled power directly into Shigaraki to shatter the cycle of hatred from within. In the aftermath, the survivors rebuild. The new global system they construct is decentralized, no longer dependent on a single symbol of peace to keep the darkness at bay. The resolution carries a heavy irony. After giving away everything he inherited to save his enemy, Midoriya is left completely quirkless, returning to exactly where he started. Midoriya's journey ends with a return to zero. He began without a single genetic gift, wielded the world's greatest power, and eventually discarded it to save a broken enemy. The legacy he leaves behind is found in that specific decision to act